Good morning. I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It's Monday, August 17th, 2015. It is now 8:32. I'd like to ask Selectman McKelney to lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gary. We're all set inside. Okay, we have one item to add to the agenda, which is a sign placement. That will be 9.2.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you all. All right, item 2, public forum, limited to 3 minutes on any agenda item. I don't see anybody wishing to address the board, so we'll move along. Item 3, approval of the minutes for August 3rd, which was a regular meeting. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any additions or corrections?
There was a minor typo that I just noted to Karen before the meeting.
Okay. Okay, I think we just took the motion before we had any additions or corrections, so I didn't see any, okay? All right. I'm moving ahead a little quickly this morning. Okay. Oh, I just did before I asked.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Item 4, Finance Director, Sheila Villano, 4.1, received a monthly report. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning.
And I believe this is the final year-end report for fiscal year 2015.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
It's the final report that you will receive. I'm not, usually there are 1 or 2 adjustments that I make prior to the final audit coming out because the auditors don't come in until September, so I still have time to clean up anything that's, that I see, but it's only minor things that would have really no material effect at all on the results of the year, so. With that said, also you don't have July in this packet. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
That's something that the Board of Finance basically started a year or 2 ago to say that 2 years ago that we had so much work to do in getting the final June report that we didn't need to do a July report. We start with August and September. So. Okay. So there's no surprises. Everything actually looks better than I projected, which is good. I'd rather be conservative. I think my projections, but we're very, very close to what I said. So with revenue, we are over our budget. We've collected more than budgeted by $1,140,000 total. That's town and the state grants for school and town. So that's pretty much where I projected. Tax collections drove that. They collected almost $650,000 more than their budget. And generally, that's for 2 reasons. Conservative budgeting is one, and the fact that we don't budget for our supplemental motor vehicle tax because we don't know what it is. And it's a nice, gives us a little bit of a,
Cushion.
I don't want to use that word, but we'll say cushion for, uncollected taxes.
Yep.
That, we don't collect, because our collection rate is 99.5%, so there is, a half, 1% that we don't collect, so we compensate for that with the supplemental motor vehicle.
You want to explain what that is for the general public?
Supplemental motor vehicle is the tax on vehicles that are purchased after October 1st, that are not, no, I'm gonna change that. It's between July 1st and October 1st. And so it's basically new cars, and it's a partial motor vehicle tax. It's due in January, 1 installment. And because this year the mill rate changed a little bit. It actually helped our motor vehicle tax collections, went up just slightly from last year.
So this is something that we never budgeted for because we have no way of knowing
Right.
who's going to be buying a new
Yeah.
car
Right.
and getting rid of their old car, which
Exactly.
is taxed.
Yes.
Okay, as of the October 1 grand list date,
Right.
because they still own the car at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and this, in 2009 and 10, and even in 11, the amount of supplemental motor vehicle was half of what it is now. Partially because during the economic downturn, you didn't see people buying new cars.
Mhm.
So it was kind of hard to predict, and it's really, gone up. So that helped us.
Okay.
Almost every department on this report, though, we'll give the department heads credit too.
Absolutely.
Almost every one has a surplus. So much of it was attributed to the building, the commercial development that's going on as well. But even interest income is a little bit greater by $16,000 than budget. I have to throw that in. So revenue
After all
came out
those
very
years
nice.
that you took a hit.
I know.
No, I agree with Sheila that the department heads have, well, they always do a great job, but this year in particular, because of all the activity that we've had in town, they've done an exceptional job. And at my last department head meeting, which was a week ago, I've told them so. And I express, without us meeting, I expressed our gratitude to them for the fine work that they continue to do in managing their budgets.
Right. And also in presenting conservative budgets to you, because that's not easy either.
And that goes for both the revenue and expense side, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to expenditures.
First of all, are there any questions on revenue? Anybody?
So expenditures at the moment for the town show $495,000 over less than budgeted. So we've expended, I can't really read it without my glasses, 98.4%, is that what that says?
Doesn't work anymore, Sheila. I used to have the magnifiers, now I've got,
Well, 98.4% of our budget. I know the numbers by heart, so.
Sheddies?
No, that's okay. That number is smaller than the others. So there are a few things here that I'd like to bring to your attention. First of all, there are several departments that show negatives, but we still have a bottom line surplus, as I said before. And we'll talk about that later on. We'll do transfers. All those negatives are due to all but one department, and that would be the tree removal. That could be related. I was going to say it's related to the snowstorm that we had, that we will be getting FEMA reimbursement. It is that, and the fact that some departments were short because of workers' comp issues and vacancies. So we'll talk about that when we get to the transfers. But as far as the surplus goes, you see the bottom line is $831,000, and that's with the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed has not recorded their encumbrances yet, so their number is going to drop. I'm only talking about that Board of Ed because we're going to take a look at what our surplus is going to be, and the Board of Ed would be part of that calculation. So the 336 is probably going to be cut down dramatically, almost to 40 or 50,000. Okay, so let's just look at the town side and not look at the 831,000. So of the 495,000, some of that money is going to be set aside for contract reserve. We have one contract at the moment that has not settled, and there are some other things that we will use that reserve for personnel for. So we will set that aside. That will come out of the 495,000. And on the capital, if you look at the capital page, there's still some funds remaining that we haven't encumbered. All of that we'll be asking you to recommend to the Board of Finance to continue that in force. So other than that, I think we ended with a very, positive surplus. 495 will probably be along the lines of 350.
Okay. I would like the board to consider, and I don't believe that we should take any action at this meeting, but when we had our evaluations from the credit agencies, which, by the way, we did very well, as you all know, and subsequently went out to market to do another round of financing for the new high school and other projects. We did very well. And the number that we projected out to the rating agencies was approximately a $1.2 million surplus. But anything in excess of that, I would like this board to consider setting up, and I think, Gary, this is something you and I talked about too, setting up a reserve for capital expenditures and taking it out of this year, which is 2015, I'm referring to, so that we don't wind up with any more of a surplus at this point. But that would be a discussion for a later meeting before the finance director finalizes the 2015 year. So I throw that out for your consideration, and we'll handle that at a future meeting at the finance director's direction.
I think we're still going to show the surplus. It's just a matter of whether or not it goes to an unassigned fund balance or into a reserve.
Mhm. And that's where I'd like to start building that fund now.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's prudent, John. I think the other thing we have to start looking at is the OPV, those future benefits and whether we start funding those.
The OPEB?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For retired employees and others,
Right.
because that's a potentially big number too, so.
I mean,
I realize there's only so many ways you could split
I
the
know.
surplus.
I mean,
But,
right now, we're getting somewhat comfortable. I don't want to say we're very comfortable, not by any means, but somewhat comfortable in our undesignated reserve as far as the rating agencies go. And we have 2 more rounds of financing to go through for the high school.
What Moody's, I can probably share with the board
Sure.
what Moody's said. We were hoping for an upgrade with Moody's. We have a AA rating, and we were hoping to go to, we have AA2, we were hoping to get to AA1, which is, basically their highest rating. And they said that if our results come out to $1.2 million surplus this year, and we budget, and we do well with the year we're in, fiscal 16 now, and we at least break even, which we will, and we don't use fund balance for fiscal 17, which we won't, for our budget, that we can not, I don't know the word they use, not expect, but we can hope for, there's a good chance that we would get an upgrade. But
That would be
those-
for 2 years?
It would be next August.
Next time.
But they really want to see, it's 3 years they're going to be looking at. This year, 16 that we're in, and 17's budget. So I think, we're in a good position for that, and that would
Right.
really help us with 2 more bond issues.
Right.
for that.
And in spite of that, S&P did give us the AAA rating,
Right.
which we were after, so,
We're very close.
yeah. So,
Moody's is ultra conservative, so,
okay.
okay.
Right. So that's some thoughts I had on.
Joe, what about also, or unless they're already doing it, sending up a fund to take care of the ongoing maintenance at the high school so it doesn't, I know that's something that's been floated around, having some kind of fund there just to take care of beyond just,
The Board of Ed has started to budget some
Yeah.
capital
Yeah.
into their budget.
okay. But I know that
it's really
can't
their
carry over, can they?
Well,
They
they're
couldn't-
responsible for the maintenance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
their
They are.
budget.
But that's on an annual basis, right?
Right,
And then
right,
it gets put back?
Right.
But
They set up an account?
the concept,
They can't. So we would have to do that. That's my,
no, the maintenance is theirs.
The maintenance is theirs. Any long-term, replacement, or like a roof replacement or any kind of upgrade would be us.
no, I know, but I meant, they fund budget that year and that's it. They can't set up an account to say, look, we're gonna put some money in, like, say they have the 40,000 extra, they can't put it in there to say, we're gonna use this for future
No,
ongoing
they
maintenance.
can ask us to do it
That's my point.
from their reserve, from their
That's-
surpluses. Or, yes, or their continued in force,
Right,
yes.
But it's the same concept that Joe and I were talking about, is the smaller items of capital should be paid as we go, and we've never been able to do that.
I
Now-
don't
now that
disagree
we're
with
co-
that, would that be
Yeah.
the school facilities too?
It could be
It
in
could
the
be.
sense
It
that
could be.
if you've got
It could
a
be.
$90 million building, you estimate what your annual maintenance should be to keep that
Right.
up to a level, and, you know, whether it's out of their surplus into our budget, I'm not,
Right.
the accounting aspects, I'm not clear on, but the concept of maintaining, just like we were talking about maintaining a fund for trucks and smaller vehicles and that
No, I
kind
know,
of
we
stuff
talked about that
is
before, my bigger concern
is the way to
is-
go when we have the funds to do it.
No, I know, it's just they have a majority of the buildings in town, so that's, I'm saying, we have an opportunity here, Joe, maybe that conversation needs to take place as well.
They have talked about creating their own reserve as well.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, if they can, we should certainly encourage it.
they can't
They
keep,
can't do, yeah.
they can't keep a balance sheet account, so to
No,
speak.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
we'd have to
We'd
do
have
it.
to, so. But this reserve would be for the entire town,
Okay.
okay?
Okay,
wanna
any other
continue?
questions on expenditures?
Any,
Is that
okay.
pretty much done with,
Okay.
okay.
You want to lead us on to transfer, oh, you want to talk about, do you have the insurance for us at all?
I want to talk about the insurance. I don't have the insurance, and I want to discuss that with you briefly. I do know that the claims were about 1.1 million. Remember last July, they were very low, we didn't really understand why. $1 million is basically what it was all last year. That was the average. But we need to do a little bit of recalculating in terms of determining whether that million is a good number, because the Board of Ed now has put between, I want to say 75 to 100 people, or a number of people onto an HSA plan that were formerly in the original PPO plan that we have right now. So it's going to have an effect on the claims. It's actually going to reduce, we feel it's going to reduce our claims by about $600,000 a year. So we're doing some recalculations to determine what our claims should be monthly. And so next month I'll have a more in-depth analysis for you of claims versus budget, because the budget's actually changing. The Board of Ed is going to give us about $600,000 less a year. So you will see that as well in September. But the claims were not, they were normal. And we didn't have the report for the claims, the large claims, and there may not be any yet because we have to start over in July. So I don't know if Mitch got a report. There are none?
Not yet.
No.
Could-
Report should be due today.
Would you send this board by email?
Yes.
A copy once you get that.
Yeah, I should have it done
completed?
early this week.
Okay.
There's a little bit of, I'm doing it with the help of our Milliman, our consultant for health benefits.
Okay.
It's a little bit tricky.
Okay.
That's all I have for that.
Any
And,
more questions on the report before we get to transfers?
Okay.
Okay.
Does everyone have a copy of the transfers? Okay. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So as you know, the charter says that we have to cover any departmental deficits at the end of the year, and normally contingency or reserve for personnel is set up for that purpose. And if we don't have enough in those accounts, then we can go to any other department and transfer the funds as long as we cover any deficits. But I don't like to take money from another department's budget, even if they show a surplus, because I think it skews their history. And so, like, if you look back at, say, for example, police department has a surplus in their department because they had several vacancies. Let's use that as an example. I could easily take money from their budget and reduce their full-time salaries, we'll say, and put it into another department's full-time salaries. But I think that skews the true activities and the true budget of that department, so I chose not to do that. So instead, if you look at my transfer sheet on the right-hand side, you'll see that the transfers come from contingency, revaluation, insurance, and human resources. And those really are not related to the departments that the money is going to, the budget transfer is going to, but that doesn't matter. I think that's a better way to handle the transfers than to take it from other departments. That's kind of a backdoor explanation, so now we'll start from the front. So the departments that need money, we'll start with finance, that's my department. And it's $1,150, and I'm bringing that up because this has occurred in every department almost. Any department that had full-time salaries this year showed a one-day deficit because we budgeted for exactly 52 weeks, and there were 52 weeks in one day that got posted. That number represents a little bit under the one day. Actually, the one day is about $2,100. So I would have had a $1,000 surplus in my department had not been one extra day. So any department, natural resources, fire, communications, and engineering and public works, are all going to have the same issue in different magnitudes, depending on what one day of their department staffing is. Okay. Other departments that you don't see here that had payroll were able to absorb that one day, and they had surpluses in other line items that covered it, so we didn't need to do a transfer. So that's a big part of it. One day on our whole payroll, and I don't have that number, I should have figured that out, for the whole payroll for the year is a pretty big number. The police department actually budgets for their one day. They're the only department, and we may want to encourage other departments to budget for that number if that happens to be an issue where we get the one day, as we did this year. Quickly, I'll go through the other departments. Registrar of voters, we
So
saw.
just, let me stop you a minute. So coming into the next year, we're gonna have one day less?
I'm going to take a look at that. No, possibly. We had 2 days at the beginning of 2 days at the end of the year that went in, and one day that came out at the beginning of the year that went back to last year. So I'll take a look at that and answer that
I
for
was
you.
just curious, okay. I know we don't budget by the day, so, okay.
No, we don't, but it does happen, and the police department always has
Okay.
budgeted for one extra day. So it is usually one day, but that doesn't always have an effect on the budget, so.
Okay, thanks.
It has to be budget cycle, because 365 days is always 52 weeks plus a day.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you always have the extra day, it's whether it hits the payroll
Right.
weekend.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
whether you hit a weekend or
right,
not.
Yeah.
right. Now, some departments, of course, work weekends.
Right. So it's sort of an anomaly this year because in my department, for example, this is the first time that I remember it actually hitting.
Okay,
So I just want you to understand that it's not that the departments went over their budget by not managing their budget. There was nothing that that they do to fix that. Okay. So now, as far as the other departments, registrar of voters, theirs was due to the one day in a small part, but mostly due to memory cards that they didn't budget for the elections, both the November election and the referendum. Natural resources we talked about they went over on the tree removal, and most likely we'll be able to get some FEMA reimbursement for that. The fire department was due to workers' comp. Some firefighters were out on workers' comp, and so the replacement costs were higher. And then there were vacancies in that department as well due to retirements for firefighters that were on workers' comp. Communications went over for the same reasons, and some additional costs of the phone costs, the communication costs. And engineering and public works is due to the storm expenses. Basically, that's their whole number there. Now, all of this we should be getting back from FEMA, but I don't have a commitment yet because we haven't finalized the reimbursement request. So when we do get the money back from FEMA, it will go into fiscal year 16, not here. But we're okay. We obviously have a nice surplus, so we're fine. But these departments really need to, you need to understand that it's mostly due to the storm Even the fire department, I spoke with the chief, he has storm expenses for the snow storm too that will go back. So all the departments should see, except for registrar, they will not see in my department. Well, my department actually will, because we'll have the administrative expenses of the storm, so I may be able to cover the $1,050.
Keep trying.
You know. So we're asking that you recommend that the Board of Finance transfers $227,555 from the sources that I've referred to on the right-hand side, which is contingency $75,000, which is the balance. Human resources, $108,700. That's the amount that's in reserve for personnel in the human resources budget. Revaluation is $35,000 that we will use right now as a budget transfer, and then we'll replenish that from within fund balance. They have a designated fund balance. We'll take it from undesignated and move it to designated as part of fund balance. And insurance will be the same concept.
Okay.
Total of $227,555.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I would move that we recommend to the Board of Finance the transfers in the amount of $227,555 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anything else, Jill?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
So the Board of Finance agrees, I don't see why not.
Well, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the math's the math.
We gave him the roadmap, so it's okay. Item 5, Fire Chief Charles Hersheff. 5.1, discuss and take responsible action on an amendment to assist the firefighters grant program under the Federal Management Agency and authorize the first selectman to sign and execute all documents necessary to said grant. Morning, Chief.
Good morning.
And I see you with Commissioner
Commissioner
Wilson.
Wilson, the chairman, is here this morning. As the board remembers, you approved the grant in the amount of $34,500. We originally asked for $239,437 from the federal government, and we received the $34,500 originally, and they have strongly encouraged us to appeal the decision once we accepted the amount of the grant. So the appeal resulted in us winning the appeal and getting the additional $204,937, increasing the grant to $239,437 to buy the rescue equipment and et cetera, that we need. One piece of equipment, one set of equipment that we need to replace is $35,000. So,
That
which
took
would be
care
in
of it.
next year's budget. So this year, we're gonna buy that equipment plus add some additional equipment to our inventory for building collapse and stabilizations and the rescue cloths and that kind of stuff. Our matching portion of that now goes obviously up to $21,767, which we have savings in the capital money, and we'll take the remainder out of the operating budget.
Okay.
Steve, if we committed, it goes up from 34.5?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I was confused.
The total,
As to whether it went down or went up.
No,
Based
it
on
went
the
up
way
to
the-
200, the total grant is now $239,437.
Right.
Of which the federal government is giving us $217,670, which our matching portion is $21,767.
Which would bring it to the 239.
Right, 239. Right.
437. Right.
And what's the conditions of the grant? Like, what do
We
we?
gotta buy the equipment.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
All right, so, but, okay.
Right, right. And it's basically it's a sole source type thing. We'll be back again.
But it's not like requiring us to do anything else in the
No.
future besides,
No.
okay.
The only requirement is to come up with the match of
Right,
$27,677.
no, I got that part. I didn't know if there was any future requirement.
Okay. Okay, so right now, I guess we need a motion to accept the grant
So moved.
and
Oh, sorry, John.
okay, I'm sorry, and to commit to the matching $21,767.
So moved.
You move, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Gary?
Yeah, okay. I'm still confused.
Okay.
If it's 239 and we have to supply the 21767, I understand that math. Where does the 34.5 fit in.
That's the
That was the
original.
original.
The original.
That's, now, the entire grant has been increased to the
239.
239.
Right.
Right. They took-
Or the
They
217.
awarded us an additional $207,000,
Okay.
okay? Which
Okay.
I think you guys
So,
covered
so
that.
originally it was gonna be a a relatively small
Right,
amount.
right.
Okay, all right.
Right.
I was just trying to make the math
Right,
on that.
when I spoke with the federal district manager, he just said he's never seen a grant that was from the original, they basically à la carte things. So we just reappealed it.
Okay, I'm fine, Joe.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, and we have item 5.2, consider and take possible action on the federal port security grant to purchase dive equipment for the fire department dive team and authorize the first selectman to sign and execute all documents necessary to said grant.
This grant came from the federal port security grant, which firefighter Planis and Captain Shove worked on. The amount of the grant is $24,999. There is no matching. All we gotta do is buy dive equipment with it, which will replace our existing or upgrade our existing dive equipment.
Okay. And attached to your package, you'll see the amount of $24,999. It also lists every other fire department that received funds from said grant. Okay.
This is the same grant that we received the fireboat from.
Yeah, okay. By the way, the fire boats and, so moved, second?
Second.
Second, okay. Fire boat is in service?
In service.
Okay.
Is it completely in service?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on it
Yeah.
a week or so ago, and they were still
Yeah,
figuring out how things were
we
working.
have a couple issues that need to be shaken down, but yeah,
Okay.
it's as a matter of fact, it's done, actually 3 runs already
Yeah.
out there. So,
Terrific.
We have a motion on the floor, it's been made and seconded, any further discussion? I'll call for a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 6, Park and Recreation Director Rick Maynard, 6.1, discuss and take possible action to contract with Malone and McBroom for an engineering study for the upper fields at Cox School. Rick, good morning, how you doing?
Good, thanks. We have $150,000 in our budget to do the actual renovations of the field. It's in the capital budget. But we did not have in there the cost for the engineering study. And so youth sports are contributing $20,000 to that effort. And so that would be the Soccer Club of Guilford, Rush Soccer, Youth Lacrosse, and the Guilford High School Athletic Department. And they've all committed up to $20,000 for that cost. And we got 3 quotes for the engineering services, and they range from $20,000 to $26,600 to $28,400. And so the low quote was Malone and McBroom, and we'd like to recommend that they be approved by the Board of Selectmen to do this work. And I want to emphasize, we really appreciate the partnership with these youth sports groups, because they're all contributing to make this happen.
Okay, it's great, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Just one clarification, in the $150,000 is actually part of a bonding
Yeah.
question that was put out on the April 2015.
Right.
Okay, so this is in addition to that, and it's
Correct.
all donated funds, and I
Yes.
think it's commendable those groups
Yeah.
came forward, that's great. So we need a motion to accept Malone and McBroom.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Rick? Thank you.
Joe,
6.2.
can I just ask?
Sure,
a
Gary,
question?
yeah.
It says irrigation, electrical, and pump improvements. I wasn't aware that there was any irrigation or pumping or electrical up there, so that's really
There is,
new.
but we think it's not working. It hasn't
Oh,
been
okay.
used in 10 years at
Okay.
least. When we did the lower fields a bunch of years ago, we ran a water can in there and
Okay.
there was some, but there is conduit all the way to the upper field. We had that put in for the
Okay.
future, putting
All right,
irrigation
I'm
up there.
confused by the improvements because I hadn't seen any evidence of it. Okay.
Well, we hope it's working. All right, 6.2, discuss and take possible action to set a public hearing date of Tuesday, September 8th. That's the first day of school, by the way. 8:30 a.m. at the Guilford Town Hall to receive public comment on an ordinance to amend the town code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 214, Parks and Public Places. Do I have a motion, please? This is in regard to the dog park, I believe, right?
No.
And this is the personal flotation.
Oh, I'm
devices.
sorry.
Flotation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We need a motion to set the public hearing date.
So moved.
Second. Have a comment, Karen?
Yeah, where does this come from? And my grandchildren have been down there, and my daughter-in-law was very upset that the kids couldn't use personal flotation devices, but
It's been an ordinance
Give us a
in
little background.
1994, and back then, the national thinking, and I remember, researching it nationally, and the national authorities had all recommended against any kind of personal flotation devices at all, for three reasons. One is it gives the parents a false sense of security. Someone would let their kid go float around and go read a book. It also gave the child a false sense of security because they don't have to do anything, they're just floating around. It also lengthened the time that they actually learn how to swim, because again, they don't have to kick, they just kind of float. Thinking has changed. We spoke with, research with Red Cross, the state beaches, and also with Kerma, our insurance company. They recommend now allowing Coast Guard approved personal flotation devices. And so it was brought to our attention by an individual who was at Jacobs Beach and was questioning it and quite frankly challenging it. And then I said, look, we'll look into it. And we found that the thinking has changed, and the Parks and Rec Commission approved some wording that Kerma gave us, and then Pam did a great job writing up the ordinance. We went back and forth a little bit with some changes on that, and the proposed ordinance, I should say. And that's what will be coming before this board in September.
Okay, the motion, thank you, Rick. The motion on the floor is just to set the public hearing date. Any further discussion on that date? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you haven't signed the notice, please do so before you leave the meeting. Thank you, Rick.
Rick, just one question. The dog park situation, is there a public hearing date set for that, or will there be?
There will be, there hasn't been yet. We had a consultant who voluntarily came and met with us. We looked at 4 different areas, and we're waiting for a recommendation, which will come to the Parks and Rec Commission on that, our meeting, which is September 14th. And then the commission will make a decision of which site they would like to propose. From there, then we go to the public hearings, I think, at that point.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Item 7, Town Engineer Jim Portley, consider and take possible action to waive the purchasing requirements and contract with Stony Creek Quarry Corporation for the purchase of 1,000 tons of armor stone for Chatfish Island Road reconstruction due to it being a sole source vendor. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I think you're all aware that we've been planning this project for years now, and we're ready to go. We finally got all permits and should be ready to start on September 1st, because we only have a very short window as allowed by DEP. Stony Creek is, we used their stone last year when we elevated Old Quarry Road. It's a short travel, trucking distance, so they kept their costs down. I would like to use them again. It's it's stuff that is not cut. It's what's left over from their mining process, and it does both parties good. So I would recommend, if the Board of Selectmen sees fit, that we not go to bid. We could get bids, but it's just it's the only other real supplier is Tilcon, and their costs are much higher. So I would recommend that Board of Selectmen allow us to purchase 1,000 tons for Chapin Island Road at $20 a ton.
$20 a ton.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Jim, we have 7.2, discuss and take possible action to accept Alexander Drive and Andrew Lane located in the Andrews Ridge subdivision as a town roads. Excuse me.
Yes, these roads have been built for a long time. They did only last year put the final course of paving on them. The roads have been monumented. I took right up through there last week and looked at every The landscaping is all done along the sides of the road. They're suited to be accepted as town roads, so I would recommend the Board of Selectmen accept Alexander Drive and Andrews Lane as town roads and release the road bond.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
If I may, I want to just...
Jim, you wanted to bring some things to our attention, yeah?
Yes, the last meeting, I told you that I had gone to a pre-construction meeting with the DOT for the milling and paving at Route 77. Since that time, and I've been in discussion with Rich Porter, who's the transportation planner for District 3, additional projects have been added on to the state's program for paving roads. And the schedule has changed again. Instead of moving the project back to mid-September, they have now moved the milling, which is taking the first inch or so of pavement off the top of the road from up to October 23rd. They're gonna start next Sunday night. Because all this,
October?
I'm sorry, August. I thought I did say that. Anyway, the process is gonna start next Sunday night. It'll take about 3 nights to mill off the surface, and they're gonna go from Prospect Hill Road down to Water Street, including the area right in front of all the shops on the south side of Woodfield. It's gonna be a problem for a couple of weeks for us, because once they do that, the parking stalls will no longer be visible. So I'm gonna try to work out something to provide some temporary stripes for the 2-week period between when they finish the milling and when they pave. That's gonna be a bit of a chore, but something, it won't be up to snuff as far as, because we can't afford the expense of doing it once, then 2 weeks later doing it again. So we'll have to do something, but it'll be temporary, hopefully for those 2 weeks. But then, because the paving is now not scheduled until September 8th, that's gonna, again, be done at night from 7:30 to whatever time in the morning they
What
finish.
happens with the crosswalks?
They're gonna have to mill up to them, and they're gonna have to leave a little chamfer up. The crosswalks will be there.
So they don't replace, okay.
No,
That's what they're doing.
no, they're gonna have to provide plywood during the milling process to get the machines across, move the material, but, that's what you do, and no big deal. But it's, again, we're gonna have to repaint some of these stripes on the side. They will replace, the state will only replace the center line and the stop bars. They don't take any responsibility for the parking markings at all, so that's fully on us. And of course, we didn't know about this until after the budget, well after the budgets were done, so we're gonna have to work that into our budget somehow.
You have it scheduled though and lined up so that fairly soon after
Yeah,
it's paved?
I can get that done quickly.
Jim, are they aware that we've been telling our residents one date, then they came back to us, told us another date, now we're gonna tell them a third date, and,
Yeah, had to
we're
respond.
starting to look like fools
Oh.
because the state doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
right,
Now,
Well,
you
it's
and I
not-
had a discussion on Friday,
yeah.
and you're not too happy with, first of all, changing the schedule.
Right.
You agree with me,
Yes,
number one. Number two, the reason they're changing the schedule is because they changed contractors,
correct.
okay? And you express your dismay to me that you're not happy with
And
the
to them.
contract, and to them.
And to them as
With
well.
the contractor that they finally selected. That, the contractor that they did select is the one that did Stepstone, am I correct?
Correct.
That had to come back here more than once to correct the lousy job they did.
It took
Now,
us 2 years.
what assurances they have that they're not gonna screw up 77, and particularly our downtown area?
Yeah, I mean, it's-
That is a real problem.
Well, I think the problem is that we should do our best to have a discussion with Commissioner Radke on this, because I don't want the town to go through this again.
Well, I think that's, We have to take it above the district level.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, could you arrange, excuse me, ma'am, could you arrange to have a meeting?
Absolutely.
I'll go up to Hartford.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna have them screw up our town again.
No.
They did shoddy work, and they had to come back, and we had the state hold up payment for, I think, over a year to these people.
Well over a year. Yeah.
The original contractor was supposed to be Tilcon, right?
Correct. And
Which has done
they've done
very good work for the town.
and they're working for us now.
Right.
One of the reasons that Tilcon just has so much work that came about because of the last winter's devastation of the roads, they are backed up, and they had asked for the project. They were originally the ones that said, we can't get there till mid-October. So their schedule was moved back, and then they added 6 new projects to this district because of the conditions of the roads. So all the work got spread out. So they went to the second bidder on some of these projects, and that was the company we're talking about. Won't necessarily have to use the name on it.
I mean, I would almost think that we would wait it, in your opinion, if we could wait another year to get the better contractor than to get somebody who's gonna screw it up, and they'd have to come back another year anyway to straighten it out,
Either that or do it later in the fall.
or later in the fall. So if you can arrange that meeting, we'll-
I'll talk to them and see if that's
Okay.
possible.
okay?
Would it help if we had our state rep and state senator involved
I'll-
or supporting you?
Get any help I,
Both state reps.
any help that I can muster up, I will.
Good.
It's a good point, Cole.
Yeah, it would almost seem whether or not we have to wait a year, even waiting to
I'll
that
wait
later
with the right
date that
person.
we had last month.
Because we had these people here before, and they were, you told,
And I expressed this
I
to,
heard from our residents
What is that?
constantly about the bad
What were the
job.
dates again now, the latest dates?
the latest dates are, they go mill next, starting the 23rd, and they would pave on September 8th.
So you're talking Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, well, they would start that night,
Is that Monday night?
Monday
Monday
night.
night.
And if they're not done in time, the fair parade is gonna
Yeah.
Yeah,
go
that's
right
the
through that
following
area.
weekend.
Yeah,
Well,
the following
I mean, the paving is not, well, if you had a good paver, that's the question Joe raised. And that's
It almost
It's
makes
the prep
sense.
work.
But if you get weather and other issues that delay it a week, then that's a problem.
It definitely deserves further conversation because there's so many issues with this change.
a lot of
It's a
it.
bad time of year for us.
Yeah,
Too bad we couldn't just do it and they just pay for it. I
That
mean,
would
you know what I
be-
mean? They should just say to the town, you run the project and we'll reimburse you within a certain amount,
I'd like to do a lot of projects that way.
right? I mean, that's,
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so I will be in contact.
Is there anything else, Jim, you want to bring to our attention?
No?
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
You and I will talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say some of our neighbors may differ, but the chip sealing on clapboard went very, very well.
I think they did a great job all over town.
yeah.
The roads, those roads that we did, I reflect back to the roads we've done the last 2 or 3 years. Those, they didn't have the damage that we had on some of the other roads all over town. They just held better, together better, and really shows the efficacy of the chip sealing process. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 8, appointments and resignations, and we have only one. Act on a recommendation to appoint Tom Pinchback to the Green Committee as the Guilford Foundation representative for a term to expire September 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I
Unanimous.
think
Thank you.
with a vote of thanks for Stephen Page,
Yes.
who has done a lot of work on that.
Second that. Item 9, request for the use of town property. We have 2 items now, 9.1 and 9.2.
I would move that we approve the 2 requests for signs as presented in the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Gary. Correspondence, 10.1, the Public Works Department monthly report, 10.2, building officials monthly report. And, stop there because I want to comment on 10.3.
Joe, if I can just make a comment on 10-2, and I think I
Go right
said this
ahead.
before. I was reading through there, and quite honestly, there were people applying for permits for things that I wasn't aware that you actually needed a permit on. I think it would be prudent if in some forum, either in the quarterly magazine that we produce, I see Brian back there, or a presentation here, or in maybe an article in the paper, that the building official, we actually publicize. Because if I'm not aware that some of this it needs an approval or a permit, I'm sure there are other people, and I just, there are people doing stuff that maybe should be or maybe shouldn't be. I mean,
Good point.
and I, one of them I saw was a boiler replacement, and I know I had a heating unit replaced a bunch of years ago. Now, maybe the contractor took it out and I wasn't aware of it, but I wasn't aware that there was a, it was 20 years ago, I wasn't aware that there was a permit needed. And as I say, maybe the contractor did it without my knowledge.
Violation.
I don't know that I'm in violation. As I said, maybe the contractor did it, but, I just think if we could publicize that, we could have better compliance with what needs to be done.
I think it's an excellent point. We'll mention it in the events magazine, but to your point, contractors, they are licensed and they should be. And if you use a licensed contractor,
Right.
and you should, they know.
It was, as
Yeah.
I say, in my case, they may have done it without my knowledge.
I got it on that one, didn't I? But the building department and all of the staff in Town Hall South are very, very good and working with the public. And Dennis can attest to that. He's right there. He works in Town Hall South, so. Right, Dennis?
Right, so.
Okay, good. All right, item 10-3, correspondence from Mulberry Point, Tuttle's Point, and Long Cove Association dated August 7, 2015, regarding easement for the water lines. And I'm just going to, you all have copies of it, read the cover letter. It says, to the Board of Selectmen, we are enclosing our request for the Board of Selectmen to adopt a resolutions for taking an easement below approximately 900 feet of Lower Road for installation of a water line to allow the residents of Mulberry Point, Tuttle's Point, and Long Cove Association to connect to the existing water system. And what they've done is given us a entire presentation. I have taken the liberty, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, of turning this over to our in-house counsel for further review and investigation, and have asked legal counsel to direct the board on what is our next step and procedures. And unless the board decides otherwise, that's the procedures we will follow. And any comment on that at all? Anybody?
I just think you've done the correct thing. I
Okay.
mean, we shouldn't have gone forward without legal counsel.
Okay. So we will handle that at a future meeting when legal counsel has decided what the next step is. Okay? Good. All right. Item 11, committee reports. I don't think we have any. Anybody? No. Old business, I have none. New business,
Joe?
yes, Gary.
I passed on an article to you, which may be old or may be new.
Go right ahead.
We
Yeah.
have talked from time to time in the Energy Task Force and others about this project of the town buying the streetlights, converting them. There was an article in the paper that Plainville has done that, and there are two new factors. One, that the Council of Governments is sort of looking at a process, and one of the issues we had is, if we own them, how do we maintain them? And so they may come up with a process that makes that easier. And the second is that they're doing it in Plainville with Wi-Fi. So they're putting Wi-Fi in, so there's public access to Wi-Fi in public areas. So again, my suggestion is that we look at that issue again, either through the Energy Task Force or through the Engineering Department, because I think it's worthwhile, because it should ultimately be savings for the town if we do it, if the maintenance process works well. And that was the engineering department's concern.
Okay. In the engineering task force?
No, the energy task force, but the engineering department was, okay, you buy the lights, how do we fix
Yeah,
them?
exactly.
How do we maintain them if we own them? That was
Public Works,
the engineering public
Yeah,
works
okay.
concern.
To that point, Gary, I've written a letter to Eversource, which formerly was CLP, and have asked them currently what would be the cost of purchasing the lights. I'm awaiting their reply. The Energy Task Force is kind of waiting for that information now, and they're working on it. Purchasing, as you know, Madison has purchased the lights, had discussion with First Selectman McPherson, but, okay, what are you guys doing about it? Now maintaining it, and they're gonna go out to bid, and they have asked me when they go out to bid for maintaining on a long-term basis. They have an interim company that's gonna maintain the lights. When they go out to bid on long-term we'd be interested in going out to bid with them, and I said, sure, you know, we could probably get a better deal. So things are in the works.
And
Karen?
I would just add, there's another, layer of concern, which is liability issues. Just change the bulb when it went out and there was an accident or death. And there was a situation on Route 1 a few years back.
Yeah.
Where CLMP was listed as a defendant because of that very reason. So, it's just as you measure all the pros and cons.
CLMP, or Eversource, doesn't do a great job at replacing the bulbs that they have. But the theory, for those that aren't aware of it, is that if you buy them, you replace the existing bulbs with LED, you substantially reduce the electrical cost. And that's where the savings comes in.
That's right.
That's where the return comes in, because we pay for the electricity, and by substantially reducing that, as well as the benefit of energy savings, you pay it off in a fairly rapid pace, and after that it's free. I mean, it's reduced cost. Okay, it's a process.
It is, thank you. Okay, public forum, we're doing it, 2 minutes, all right. Any item? I don't see anybody who wants to address the board. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Could you hang around for about 2 seconds?